homework. Now, at the end
What
of
was this?
class yesterday, I gave you an assignment to be radically honest and take radical responsibility with the state of your health. And so we gave you a worksheet yesterday that you were meant to complete and really sit with your beliefs and really sit with the stories you've been telling yourself about your health. So, do we have a courageous one or two people who's willing to share what they came up with as you were doing the homework? Were you radically responsible for where you are in your health? Did you take radical responsibility for that? I would love to hear from one or two people. Get those hands up. Drop me a note in the
You got
chat.
a
Let's
pen?
talk about what that looks like, what that sounded like for you. Because the only way, remember I told you guys yesterday, the only way we can really move forward, is if we own where we are today and we really take time to think through how we got to where we are today. So, did anyone do the homework? Come on in, Deja. Come on in, Deja. Hey, Deja.
Yes. Hey. Okay, so I did the homework and I'm just pulling it up really fast as well because I had to write it down in my notes. Okay, so I have been telling myself that I eat mostly decent, so I don't really need to make these significant changes. That was a lie that I was telling myself. But the truth is that I consume a lot of processed foods with salt, sugar, and oil, and I have an addiction to those things, and I don't want to be like no fiend. So I want to be done with that. Um and then I put that my health is requiring me in this season to rest and drink a lot more water and eat a balanced diet. So I'm
Mm,
grateful for this space. And then I put a risk of not achieving my goals is stress induced illness, not living long enough to see my children grow and have children,
mm,
and an imbalance or deficiency.
that's so good, Deja. Thank you for being honest with yourself. And thank you for really leaning into what the consequences are, right? So if I don't take action, what's the cost of inaction? I really hope you guys did that part of the homework. You didn't just think about how you got to where you are, but I really hope and pray that you guys put some time to think about what's the cost of inaction. Because remember, I told you yesterday that if you don't change something right now, today is the healthiest you'll ever be. Well, we're 24 hours later. And if you have done nothing different, you're just a little less healthier today than you were yesterday. And that's the thing about it. Like it's these micro doses, so it doesn't feel like anything's moving or changing because it changes in such a small percentage every day that you don't realize it until you wake up next week, next year, next month, and you're like, how did I get here? Right. And so calculating the cost of inaction is such an important part of this equation. So thank you so much, Deja, for sharing. Thank you so much. Let's get into what I have for you today. Now, y'all, yesterday I broke down my story. I broke down my story to you guys, and I want to pick up where I left off. Yesterday. I started telling you my own radical weight loss story. I started telling you my own health journey, and I want to pick off where I left off. I want to pick up where I left off. And oh, Jill, you have a good one in the chat. Hold on. Let me see. Jill said, I realized that I was sabotaging myself and my emotional capacity holds me hostage to poor health habits. If I don't surrender, I would dilute my most valuable asset, my mind. That's a good one, Jill. That's a good one. Like having those conversations with yourself, right? I'm sabotaging myself. The reason that's important, and I had to pause to acknowledge that, y'all, because that's ownership. That's ownership. I had to realize that I was doing it to myself. And yesterday, when I broke down the three lies that we tell ourselves, in those lies, we were giving away our power. When we say stuff like it runs in my family, that's us giving ownership to something else for where we are. But I love that Jill said I was sabotaging myself. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And so realizing and taking that ownership is how we take back our power. So shout out to you, Jill. Thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so let's get into where I left off yesterday. So let me pull my before pictures back up on the screen. I want to show you guys, I want to show you and remind you, I want to remind you where I started. And I want to tell you the rest of my journey. I just told you a little bit today, but for the sake of today's lesson, it's going to get really deep because today is where we're going to really deep dive into our conversation about stress. And so let me pull up my before picture here and let me show you guys where I started as a reminder. I know everyone wasn't on yesterday, so check this out, y'all. So check this out. So this was my before picture, right? I told you guys yesterday that I used to be a social worker. I had a coworker who was working and eating the same things every single day. And she was working in social work with me and she was looking good and I wanted to know how to do it. And so I hired her as my first personal trainer. But before I did that, like this was me. Look at these two before pictures, y'all. This was me, right? I used to be overweight, about 190 pounds, and I was eating as best I knew how. I was using calorie counting, if I'm being honest. I'm like, when the meal said low calorie, those lean cuisines, that was me. I was like, okay, this must be what we're supposed to eat. So I was eating lean cuisines and I was low calorie and I was all about, really trying to follow what the label said, right? Trying to let the package tell me how to eat, right? And it wasn't working. I was overweight. I wasn't happy with what I saw in the mirror. If anybody can relate to that, if anybody can relate to that, put me in the chat. If you can relate to looking in the mirror and not being happy with what's looking back at you. If you've ever had that experience where you wanted something different, you wanted your reflection to be different, you wanted to feel different, you were sick of waking up and not feeling your best in your body. That was me, y'all. So in these pictures, I didn't have a diagnosis technically from a doctor, but I wasn't well. And I think one of the biggest mistakes we make in our health is mistaking the absence of a diagnosis for health. I'm going to say that again. One of the biggest mistakes we make is mistaking the absence of a diagnosis as health. One of the worst things we can do is think, well, I'm overweight, but technically I don't have high blood pressure. I don't have high cholesterol. My kidney function is good. My liver function, all of that. I don't have a diagnosis. I'm not on medications. I have had people come into my classes and my challenges and my programs and be overweight and proclaim not to have a pre-existing condition. It's gotten so bad, y'all, that we don't even see being overweight as a pre-existing condition. We only decide we're unhealthy once we have a diagnosis. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is thinking the absence of a diagnosis is the presence of health. So here's your first takeaway. Gym dropper, did y'all remember to bring y'all edge control today? Anyway, don't worry about it. Here's your first takeaway. Here's your first takeaway. Your first takeaway is the absence of disease is not the presence of health. The absence of disease is not the presence of health. Neil said, I'm wearing the bonnet all week. I can't be playing with you, Lisa. Bring your bonnet to class, okay? I will forget. Bring your bonnet to class. It's the only way you're going to survive. It's the only way you're going to survive my gyms, okay? I'm telling you, there's no sugar on this brain. I'm fasted. I ain't ate in about 16 hours. Anything could happen. Anything could happen, okay? But the absence of disease is not the presence of health. And that's what I needed to understand for these two pictures to look differently. So let me tell you guys something. I started my business. So let me pick up where I left off. So I told you guys yesterday that I started my journey. I lost eventually over 60 pounds. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think it's a coincidence that the same year that I started my weight loss journey, 10 months later, in the fall of that year, is when I submitted my resignation to my 9 to 5. I don't think it's a coincidence that the same year that I started optimizing my health, loving what I saw in the mirror, becoming more confident in my abilities, is the same year that I took a chance on myself and decided to leave a circumstance, in this case, my career, that was not serving me. Social work is honorable work, but it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. It did not allow me to maximize my gifts. I don't think it's a coincidence that the same year I began my weight loss journey is the same year that I stepped away from something that I had previously thought was safe. So here's what happened. I lost the weight, right, y'all? So before I left the state of Michigan, foster care as a foster care worker in 2012. The very first thing I did was move to Italy. So I moved to Rome, Italy, and I moved to Rome, Italy, and I did an internship at the United States Embassy. After I left Italy, I came back to the US and I said, this can't be life. I left again, and less than a year later, I then moved to China. I moved to a city called Foshan, and I moved to China. And I moved to China and I'm seeing the world again. So first I did Europe, right? And then I moved to China. So I did Southeast Asia. And I'm loving it. I'm like, oh my God, seeing the world, being paid to travel. It was amazing. But then as my time in China was coming up, I was like, I got to do something different. What am I going to do when I get back stateside? Now, I was still working out, I was still exercising. I'm in love with the gym. And so I was like, I want to be a personal trainer. Now, mind you, here I am with a degree in psychology, an MBA, a master's in business, and I'm telling my mom when I get back, I think I'm just going to train people in the gym, right? Never mind these degrees. I don't care what they're supposed to do for me. I don't care about climbing a corporate ladder. All I want to do is work out and eat right. So I got back to the United States, y'all. And remember, I told you about Tiffany, who was my first personal trainer? Well, Tiffany was still working at that same gym in Ferndale, Michigan. And I went to the owner of that gym. His name was Steve. And I said, Steve, I want to be a personal trainer. I'm not certified as a personal trainer, but I will come work for you for free if you could just show me the business and show me the ropes. I'll work for you for free as an intern so that I can work to get certified as a personal trainer. And he said, I'll do you one better. Get back to the US when you come back from China, come to the gym and see me. You can work for me and I'm going to pay for you to get certified. Steve changed the game for me. He changed the game. He said, I need help. You need a certification. Steve paid. He sent me to Chicago. He paid for me to get certified as a personal trainer. And I started working for him. And so I'm working for Steve as a personal trainer, right, y'all? And I'm doing my thing, right? I'm in the gym. I'm learning the ropes. I'm learning the science. I'm learning all the things. I'm falling in love with it. I'm doing a phenomenal job. And then finally, one day, I went to Steve and I said, I want to start my own business. And Steve, without even blinking an eye, he was like, I knew I wouldn't have you for long. I said, what? He said, no, you're too good. I knew people like you get, I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep you. I said, what? I said, Steve, okay, well, here's the deal. I want, not only do I want to start my own business, but I want to start a business that's similar to yours, but I don't want a physical gym. I want an online gym. I want to start an online personal training company. And I would love for you to mentor me in doing that. He says, say less, I got you. And y'all, that was the moment that everything changed me. That is the moment the version of me that is speaking before you today was born. I started my business in 2015. Look at this. Let me show you where I started. Let me show you where, look at these logos, y'all. Let me show you where I started, okay? Professionally Fit, executive wellness for high performing professionals. Then we have the Black Health Academy, dedicated to optimizing the health of people of color. Then we have Get Planted. This was a class that I did every first Saturday of the month from 2017 to 2023. Then we have Farm to Table, my plant-based coaching program that I launched in 2016. Then we have the plant-based foodie recipe book. This is my first little digital recipe. Well, no, it was digital and hard copy that I created. I used to sell at events when I would vend at events. Okay, this was my business in 2015. And let me tell you something. The whole time I was still on my health journey. I'm eating right. I'm drinking right. I'm working out. I'm eating right. I'm drinking right. I'm working out. I'm eating right. I'm drinking right. And I'm working out. And by God's grace, no matter what the statistics say, most businesses fail in the first year. Most businesses fail in the fifth year. Most businesses never make it past a mom and pop. Most businesses never make enough money to actually employ people. Here I am 10 years later with brands, the logos done been updated, y'all. Here I am 10 years later, farm to table, still around, serving people, thousands of students later. The plant protocol, business accelerator, plant-based coaching certification, new podcast, who this, right? Logo, personal brand. People are knowing my names and inviting me to the stages. Clarity, our community dedicated to eliminating chronic stress. And why am I telling you this? What, Lisa, what does this have to do with stress? What does this have to do with eating like I got some sense? What does this have to do? What does this have to do with moving right and extending my life? Well, I never thought you would ask. I will tell you one of the biggest lessons I learned in being a coach for the past 10 years is that purpose heals. Purpose heals. Let me help you to understand. I don't care how perfect your diet is. I don't care how perfect your workouts are. I don't care how perfect your squat form is. I don't care how much water you drink every day. I do not care how much sleep and rest you get, how many vacations and girls' nights you have to decompress. If you are disobedient, if you are out of alignment, your health is still going to be compromised. And let me tell you a mistake I made. Let me tell you one of the biggest mistakes I made as a coach. Okay. Because today is all about alignment. So let me tell you one of the biggest mistakes I made as a coach. I got this transformation. I lost this weight, right? And I decided to make it my responsibility to teach other people how to do it. But I messed up, y'all. I messed up. It took me so many years to figure this out. Tell me if this is you. Have you ever lost weight successfully? Like you lost some weight successfully, then you gained it back. Put a one in the chat if you lost it and then it found you again. Put a one in the chat if you have ever lost weight and then found it again. Put a one in the chat if you've ever done the work to get your blood pressure to come down, your blood sugar to come down, get your cholesterol to come down, and then eventually you found it creeping back up. Put a one in the chat if that has been ever, if that's ever been you. If you've ever experienced it, you do it and then it comes back. You do it, but you can't maintain it. Okay, so let me tell you the biggest mistake I made. I would teach people how to lose the weight. I teach people how to get off the sugar. I teach people how to eat for a healthy blood pressure, healthy cholesterol. I teach people how to eat to shrink fibroids. I teach people how to eat for mental health. Oh, anxiety, depression. Oh, no, no, no. Serotonin is produced in your gut. We just need to improve your gut health. Here's what we're going to do. Like, I've been teaching people this stuff for years, but something started happening and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. People would lose the weight, their numbers will go down, they will start feeling better, depression will be lifting, anxiety will be lifting. And then eventually, after so many weeks, months, or sometimes years, they would start reverting back. And the thing that I realized that we weren't addressing as a company, that I wasn't addressing as a coach, is that health is not all about diet and exercise. Health is not all about what we eat and how we move. I had to better understand, Lisa, you telling your story, but you're not telling them the whole story. You're not telling them that part of the reason you've been able to keep 60 pounds off for so many years, it's because you got in alignment with your assignment. You're not telling them that the reason you didn't go back to having to start all over is because you eliminated chronic stress. You eliminated a job you couldn't stand. You eliminated a relationship where you were engaged to be married. You eliminated the trauma that came from your father abandoning you. Y'all, I did a disservice to people for so many years thinking the only thing I had done to get to where I was change my diet and my exercise regimen. I didn't tell them that I found my purpose and I've been living in it. There's something about Your assignment and your purpose tastes them better than anything you can buy off a shelf. Because at first I thought I had this extraordinary favor. I'm like, why did God give me the consistency muscle? Why did God give me the discipline muscle? I thought I was super special. Like I thought I was wearing a cape that said super special. But no, girl, you just didn't tell your whole story. You told them what you ate. You told them what time of day you work out. You didn't help them to connect the dots that the other thing that did it was leaving the 9 to 5 that was making you miserable. The other thing that did it was returning the ring to the person that wasn't your person. The other thing that did it was making sure that you went to therapy, that you went to counseling to talk about the feelings of abandonment you felt when your dad abandoned you. Oh God, this is so good. It's so good that I'm gonna play a clip. Now, most of y'all done probably heard this clip, but I done said it so many times. I love the way I say it. So I'm going to say it again. Shout out to being a fan of yourself. Watch this. Watch this. I got that CJ level confidence if y'all ain't noticed. Okay. But watch this. Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to play a clip for you. I'm gonna play a clip for you where I said it on stage. I want to just keep doing what we did. Remember yesterday we played clips. You know what I mean? Yesterday we had some fun with the clips. So I was like, let me throw another clip in here for them today. So watch this, y'all. I'm gonna show y'all where I said this. If you haven't seen this post of mine on social media, this is gonna be good for. If you have, just sit through the 2 minutes with us, okay? Watch this. I'm gonna play it for you. Hold on. Let me make sure all the sound is good. Y'all confirm for me that y'all can hear this when I hit play. Okay, I think we good. Okay, wait a minute, y'all. Let me go back to the slides. I'm gonna play this clip, and I said it. I said it in this clip, and it went so viral that I want to make sure you guys understand what I'm teaching today and this week. All right, so let's listen to this together.
Question leads to Lisa. Lisa, what are the lifestyle changes that need to be addressed to prevent and combat chronic disease?
Yes, thank you so much for asking the question. This is really important because I think when most of us are trying to get healthy, we do the two things we know, which is diet and exercise, right? And those are the low-hanging fruits, and you absolutely should, right? So let's knock those out of the way. A whole food plant-based diet, no doubt about it, will excel your ability to combat chronic lifestyle disease or prevent them. We should be doing high-intensity interval training. I too, Brandy, started as a personal trainer, right? So it's so important. Movement is so important. Let's not underestimate the movement. However, health does not begin and end in the kitchen and the gym. It is essential that we do 3 additional things. I'm gonna be on my 3s tonight. So y'all ready for the first 3? Okay, so my note takers, tap your neighbor. So the first one is sleep hygiene. We have to get high quality sleep. It's not just getting to sleep, but it's staying asleep. Okay, front row behavior. It's not just staying asleep, but it's making sure you are sleeping well, going into all those stages of sleep. A lot of magic happens metabolically when we sleep. The second thing that we absolutely must prioritize, lean in, Black women, we have to eliminate chronic stress. I did not say manage it. I said eliminate it. Okay? Self-care, vacations, meditation, journaling, that's all management. We have to do the harder work of creating an exit strategy. Okay? Acute stress, normal. Life is going to life. Chronic stress kills us slowly. It's not an option. So we have to eliminate chronic stress because those elevated levels of cortisol and adrenaline are going to compromise the body. The final thing that we absolutely must focus on when it comes to health outside of diet and exercise is purpose. In Japan, it's called ikigai. It means a reason for being. If you are not optimizing your gifts and your talents and having fulfillment in your life and leaving the world a better place than what you found it, that too will kill you slowly. Purpose heals. So find the thing that God has called you to do and lean into it.
Now listen, y'all. I wore this shirt on purpose. Okay. Stress kills and purpose heals. The thing that we're about to get into right now is probably the part of the health equation that you've never factored in. Don't get me wrong. Y'all are brilliant. I know y'all are. So y'all know that the whole person, you understand the concept of whole wellness. You understand the concept of holistic wellness. But the challenge is when it's time to activate it, you still only focus on what you eat and how you move. Some of us are not doing the harder work of eliminating the things eliminating the things that's stressing us out and keeping us unwell. See, if we are going back to a job that makes us miserable, a relationship where we're unfulfilled, if we haven't healed from the trauma and childhood disappointment, guess what? Food begins to soothe us. That was the piece that I was missing for years as a coach. I was like, I'm teaching these people what to do. Why do they do it so well when they're with me, but when I release them back out into the world, they have such a hard time maintaining the results. And I was like, oh, Lise, you didn't tell them everything you did. They didn't realize that quitting the job or taking a chance on yourself or starting a business that really made you happy is part of the reason you can keep the weight off, because nothing tastes as good to me as the stage feels. Nothing tastes as good to me as creating content and curriculum that's about to change another person's life feels. I'm like, that's what they don't have. They don't have the fulfillment from something else. And so they got to get it. They got to get it from the substances. Oh, I'm so glad we cracked this code, y'all. I'm so glad we cracked this code. So let me show you something. Let me show you why stress is just a symptom of misalignment. If you haven't caught it today yet, what I'm trying to tell you is part of the reason you're unwell, you're overweight, you're medicated, it's not just from your diet, it's because you're disobedient. Obedience is the answer. It's not just what's on your plate. It is going to be activating radical obedience that's going to make the alcohol, the sugar, the junk food, the fast food undesirable. Listen, I tell my students, listen, don't pray for the temptation to go away. Like, don't get mad at the conference for having a table full of pastries. Don't get mad at the office because they got to have all the candy around the holidays. I need you to pray for the desire to go away. Don't pray for the temptation to go away. Pray for the desire to go away. You want to know what answers the prayer? Obedience. Obedience is the answer to what you're praying for. It is the cheat code to what you're praying for. Find something, activate the thing that fills you up more than anything could, any man-made thing could. Nothing tastes as good as obedience feels. Nothing tastes as good as alignment feels. I got into alignment in my relationships. I got into alignment with God. I got into alignment with my calling, with my gift, with my purpose. And now it's easy to stay healthy. Okay, so now that y'all understand that part, I want to define something for you real quick. Because misalignment is what's making us sick. And so if misalignment is keeping us sick and not just what's on our plate, how do we get into alignment? Let me define something for you, because stress, we have it misconstrued. We think the stress itself is the problem, but stress is a symptom of misalignment. I'm going to say it again. Stress is a symptom of misalignment. So let me show you. I'm going to define something from you. So Saturday, when I was at APOC in Lansing, I defined the difference between acute versus chronic stress. And for anyone who missed that, let me share that here first. Okay. Let me share that here first. So misalignment makes us sick. There's two types of stress, guys. I'm about to teach for about 7 minutes. All right. Let me go into my teacher bag. All right. Let me take my speaker hat off and go into my teacher bag. So there's two types of stress. There's acute stress, short term, time bound. There's a clear solution for it. And ideally, it's purposeful and meaningful. Okay. So acute stress is the type of stress that we can expect to have throughout our life. It's the type of stress that's actually healthy. It makes us better. We grow from acute stress. No problem. No problem. Acute stress is great to have. I'm finishing up a book right now. Acute stress. I'm in a super busy season where I'm traveling every single weekend. Acute stress, right? That means I'm not at my home gym all the time. I'm not in my home kitchen. I got to make adjustments on the road. Anything can happen with the flights and all of that. It's just a part of it. Comes with the territory, acute stress, right? Or you might have an unexpected occurrence happen in your life. A big appliance goes out, or you lose something unexpectedly. Acute stress, like we're going to fix it. We're going to figure it out, and then it's over. But that's not the type of stress that's hurting us. It's chronic stress. So chronic is long-term. If there's a solution, it's unclear. We have no exit strategy. It's not tied to purpose. It's not tied to meaning, and it's not time bound, right? And so chronic stress is the type of stress where, man, I've been at this job for years. I get anxiety Sunday night before it's time to go into work Monday morning, and it's causing me overwhelm, burnout, and feelings of angst, right? Chronic stress is I'm lying next to a person who I'm not in alignment with, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to get out of it. I have shame about it, right? Chronic stress. Chronic stress is I had something happen to me in my past. I haven't addressed it. I haven't confronted it. And it's starting to take a toll on my quality of life. I haven't healed. Chronic stress, right? Chronic stress is like I'm in so much debt. I have no idea where to start. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm on the brink of everything collapsing and I don't have an exit strategy. Chronic stress is this long term, overwhelming feeling of pressure. Okay. That's the type of stress that kills. Now, I want to go a little deeper into stress. Okay. Because acute stress can be expected, but chronic stress should be avoided at all costs. So all stress starts off as acute, but then it graduates to chronic. It graduates to chronic. And what I'm about to show you in the next several slides is how acute stress becomes chronic stress. And then I'm going to show you why stress is just a symptom of misalignment. Okay. So watch this. I want to break something down for you. Now, these next several slides is going to seem like a lot of information, but I'm going to pull it together real quick. Here's what happens when we get stressed. We have a stress response, right? So I want to show you kind of what happens in the body. The process begins when the brain perceives a threat. So we perceive a threat in our environment. The next thing that happens is stress hormones flood the body. So stress hormones begin to flood the body, and those levels of cortisol, adrenaline goes up, and this begins to cause physiological changes. These changes include things like heart rate, blood pressure, muscle tension, breathing, heightened alertness. This is all things that are happening instantaneously as our body is sending a signal to our mind that there's a threat looming. Okay? Now watch this. After the threat passes, the parasympathetic nervous system, i.e. our rest and digest system, helps calm the body down. Okay, that's the stress response. Now, let me watch this. Now I want to show you something else. Fight or flight response. We have probably heard of this. So stress, when we are triggered with that cortisol, we typically have a fight or flight response, also known as the stress response. So this is just a physiological reaction that occurs in response to a perceived harmful event, attack, or threat to our survival, right? So there's a whole process that happens in the body. Look at this image. There's a whole process that happens in the body. Pupils dilate, right? But saliva, we actually create more saliva when we are in a fight or flight response. Our skin and our blood vessels constrict. Our heart runs faster. Our bowels might eliminate. Stomach, our digestive system, the output of our digestive enzymes decrease. Digesting gets turned down when we are in fight or flight. Our blood vessels, right? Our blood pressure increases. So a lot of things happen when we are perceiving a threat. Now look at this. Look at this. Our fight or flight response is a survival mechanism that helps us to react to perceived dangers, but it can also be triggered inappropriately in situations that aren't life-threatening. So what does that mean? That means on Sunday night, I'm laying in bed thinking about how much I don't want to do this thing on Monday morning. My body doesn't know I'm just laying in bed thinking about it. My body doesn't know I'm just driving down the street thinking about it. I'm having the exact same stress response as if I had a physical imminent threat, as if a car was approaching running a red light. I'm having the same physiological response as if a dog was chasing me down the street. Like all our body can feel is the stress hormones rising. And as a result, we're having a physiological response to thinking thoughts. All we're doing is thinking thought. We're so stressed out about the relationship. We're so stressed out about the finances. We're so paranoid about being unhealed and people discovering us, our secrets, that it's causing a stress response in the body as if somebody is jiggling our back door handle and trying to get into the house. Same response. But this is not even the part I want to share with you. Wait a minute. It goes, let me break down one more definition for you. Now, I share this definition Saturday at APOC. I'm going to read it again. The National Institute of Health says chronic stress exerts a profound impact when a perceived threat, when our brain perceives a threat, when our mind perceives a threat, the brain is pivotal in this process as functioning as the primary organ that evaluates these threats and coordinates a behavior or physiological response. Now, this is real sciencey, and I went through this real quick because I want to show you something. What I'm about to do, I'm about to switch over my device. I want to highlight this for you because it's that deep. Watch this, y'all. Watch this. Now tell me, I just gave you 4 different facts about stress, about the stress response. Did anybody notice a pattern? I'm gonna just test you in the chat. Did anybody notice a pattern? I talked about what happens when we feel stressed. Then I talked about the fight or flight response. I gave you the definition of how the National Institute of Health defines stress. Did anybody notice a pattern? If not, don't worry about it. I'm about to give it to you. This is so good. Anybody notice a pattern? Not the boogeyman, Renee. Oh, Santiago got it. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your first name. Matthews got it. Yes. Perception. Oh, y'all so good. Y'all so smart. Watch this. I'm about to go back over it. So we're on the iPad now. Watch this. First, I talked about the stress response. And in talking about the stress response, it says the process begins when the brain perceives a threat. And then look, when the brain perceives a threat, that's when the stress response begins. And then a fight or flight response says it's a physiological reaction that occurs in response to a perceived harmful event. Wait a minute. Then I said the truth is that fight or flight response is a survival mechanism that helps us react to perceived dangers. Y'all so good. Watch this. And then the National Institute of Health says that chronic stress exerts profound impacts on our health, which is initiated when a stimulus is perceived by the mind as a threat. What am I trying to tell you? Lisa, what are you telling me? Like, what this got to do with my health, with eating right, with stress? I'm trying to tell you that for every single person on this call right now, your misalignment and the stress that you're feeling is not a result of your circumstance, is a result of your perception of your circumstance. So here's the question. If it's just my perception keeping me sick, and it's not necessarily the job, but it's my perception of it, you mean to tell me that I can change my perspective and change my biology? You're telling me changing my perspective can change my biology. Like, I want to be clear. This definition from the National Library of Medicine does not say chronic stress exerts a profound impact on health, initiated when a stimulus works a 9 to 5 in a career that's not their first choice. It didn't say that. It didn't say that stress is initiated when a stimulus is in a relationship with someone who they haven't developed healthy communication with. It's not calling out your circumstance. The National Library of Medicine is not calling out your circumstance. It does not say that chronic stress exerts a profound impact on health, initiated when a stimulus was abandoned by their father. It don't say that. It says when it is perceived by the mind as a threat. Okay, wait a minute, because I be impressing myself. Okay, so what area of your life? This is your question. This is the $100 million question for today. What area of your life are you currently experiencing the most stress? And what are you perceiving as a threat? Let me give you an example. Because some of y'all might not be getting it yet. Let me give you an example. Because the truth is, I didn't even really say it all the way right. Okay. It's not how you're perceiving your circumstance that's the real truth. It is how you're perceiving the potential solution to your circumstance. Okay, I'm about to tell you another quick story. Several years ago, we were struggling a little bit in business, right? And our revenue wasn't where I thought it should be based on the transformations we had conducted. So not based on my ego, right? Not based on who I think I am. But many years ago, we were struggling in business from a revenue standpoint. Like we were getting business, like people were signing up for our programs. That wasn't an issue. But the issue was, I'm like, the revenue is not growing like we needed to because we need to be able to hire a team and we need to be able to invest in some bigger marketing campaigns. And so things weren't growing, things weren't hitting like they were supposed to. Now I was like, now, God, I need you to make 1 and 1 = 2. Now, how is it that I have a chain of people? Let me tell you something. I can go out into the streets of Detroit right now, stand in the middle of Jefferson, stand in the middle of Woodward, stand in the middle of 7 Mile and say, hootie hoo, hootie hoo. And when that hootie hoo gets sounded, that means everybody who I have helped with a transformation in your health, come to the street right now. I could do a hootie hoo and flood the block with the amount of people that I have helped lose weight, get off of blood pressure meds, get off of statins, relieve them from depression, relieve them from anxiety, increase their ability to have children, make them more fertile, shrink their fibroids. I'm like, now how is it, God, that I can go out here and say hootie hoo and gather a ton of receipts, yet and still, we still not making enough money to hire somebody? Now, this didn't make no sense to me. I said 1 and 1 ain't adding up because I don't want more money because I just think I'm the stuff. I want more money because I got transformations. I got receipts. I do what I say I'm going to do. And so I had to figure it out, y'all. I'm like, we struggling in business. Why? And so I hired my first business coach. And she said, Lisa, you need to raise your prices. Your prices are too low for what you do. She said, do you understand the value? Do you understand the value of helping somebody reverse type 2 diabetes? Let me, just in case y'all missed it, this is a flex. Just in case y'all missed it, I didn't say help them manage it. I said when people come to me, they on metformin. When they leave me, they not. So she said, do you understand the value of what you do? And I'm like, yeah. She like, no. If you did, your prices wouldn't be so low. Let me make sure. Okay, let me slow down. I need to make sure y'all getting this. We were struggling in business. If you didn't make the connection, that means I was stressed out about it. I was stressed out. And I told you earlier that stress is not your circumstance, it's the perception of your circumstance. And so I was stressed out about where we were in business. But that turns out wasn't the stressful part. When I went to my coach and I said the number of receipts and transformations that I'm responsible for don't add up to my bottom line on my spreadsheet, on my profit and loss statement. And she said, your prices are too low. The issue was I had anxiety about raising my prices. I was worried about what people would think. I was worried about how we would be perceived. Now, why is this important? It's because I'm telling you, the fact that we weren't making as much as we should make in business wasn't the stressor. The thing that was causing chronic stress was my perception of raising my prices. And that's what I'm telling you. It's not your job. It's your perception of what you think could go wrong if you do something different. It is not your relationship. It's your perception of the potential consequences of having a difficult conversation. It's the perception of all of your options that is keeping you stressed out. And because of that, stress is a symptom of misalignment, because being in alignment and being obedient, when I hired somebody who was an expert, who could tell me what I needed to do, when she told me what I needed to do, and I knew instantly in the moment when she told me that she was right, I said, you're right, this is not a $500 problem. No, there's no way I should be charging $500 for farm to table. And people is walking away talking about my doctor just took me off statins. This is not a $500 problem. But it wasn't. So the problem wasn't the fact that we were struggling in revenue. The problem is that my beliefs were telling me it was not safe to raise my prices. Your beliefs are telling you it's not safe to create an exit strategy from that job. And now we have prolonged stress. Your beliefs are telling you that it's not safe to address this relationship. It's not safe to go into therapy and start talking about what happened to you when you were younger. Your beliefs are telling you that it's not safe. And because of that, you are staying disobedient. Your beliefs are telling you it ain't safe to give up meat because you don't know how to cook a black bean burger. It ain't even got to be deep like trauma. You've been getting a call to give up animal. You've been to your stomach hurt every time you eat dairy, every time you have cheese, every time you have cream. But your disobedience is what's keeping you stressed out. It's not your health, it's your unwillingness. It's your unwillingness to do what you know you have been called to do. Misalignment is the reason for your stress. It is not the circumstance. Your disobedience, you've been getting a call, you've been getting the signs, you've been getting the signals to eat like you got some sense. Your head hurt every time you eat sugar. You feel terrible every time you drink alcohol, but because you insist on being disobedient, now you stressed out about your health, about your career, about your relationships. My stress wasn't because our revenue wasn't consistent. It was my worry of what people would think if we raised our prices. I was misaligned. And I'm trying to tell you that's where a lot of you are. That's where a lot of you are. So as we wrap up and we get into homework and we get into what I need you to do to go from a consumer to a producer, the takeaway for today, guys, is number one, the absence of disease is not the presence of health. Number two, stress is not your problem, misalignment is. The moment you commit to being obedient to what you've been being called to do, that is the moment that you will get relief from stress. It is not the circumstance that's the problem. It's the misalignment. It's the fact that you're not honoring the fact that purpose heals, obedience heals, optimal health will still elude you if you think it's just a matter of what you eat, what you drink, and how you exercise. I'm telling you right now. Let me tell you something really quickly. Like last week, couple days ago, or the week before, I was talking to Danita, and we were getting the flyers. We were getting the flyers ready for this series, right, y'all? And as we were getting the flyers ready, Danita sent me the flyers. She said, Lisa, they're ready. The promotional material is ready for our health series. We're excited. She sent me the flyers, right? And unfortunately, I had to go back to her. I said, Danita, couple things on the flyer. I said, number one, APOC and myself, we have audiences all over the world. There's no time zone on the flyer. I said, I think we should update it and put a time zone on the flyer. But that wasn't the biggest correction I needed her to make. The second correction I needed her to make, I said, also, Danita, I know we still getting to know each other, but I don't just go by Lisa Smith. I go by Lisa A. Smith. And I said, you didn't put my middle initial on the flyer. And you didn't know. You didn't do nothing wrong. I said, but just so you know, I go by Lisa A. Smith. I go by Lisa A. Smith. And so if you could, when you add the time zone to the flyer, could you add my middle initial to the flyer? And the reason I asked Danita to add my middle initial to the flyer is because people need to be able to find me. Because I don't know if y'all know this, but Lisa Smith is a very common name. Lisa Smith, probably the most common. Like E.T. like to say his name is common, Eric Thomas, but I might have won this one. I might have won this round. Lisa Smith is one of the most common names on the planet, at least in the U.S. I ain't going to claim the whole planet, but definitely in the U.S., right? Lisa Smith. And don't ask me how I know, honey. I done got stopped at border crossings, being accused of having warrants. I'm like, wrong Lisa Smith, okay? It's a very common name, right? And so I told Danita, please add my middle initial to the flyer. Please add my middle initial to the flyer, right? And I said, because I need people to know when they looking for me, they need to look for Lisa A. Smith, right? I need you to add the A. The A stands for angel. I need you to say the A when you say my name, right? Because that's how people will know it's me, right? Because when you're trying to navigate a world in a world with a whole bunch of people who are doing the same things, you have to have a way that you stand out. If I'm trying to navigate a world with a whole bunch of other Lisa Smiths, I have to have a way to stand out. What's my point? My point is, just like the A in my middle name, your assignment is unique and special to you. I'm not talking about middle names. I'm talking about gifts. I'm talking about what makes you unique. I'm talking about what's your gift and what's your assignment. What are you being disobedient to that's stressing you out? See, I left my 9 to 5 as a social worker, not because it wasn't a good job, not because I couldn't guarantee that I would have benefits in a retirement fund. I left it because it didn't allow me to activate my purpose. See, one of the most common forms of stress is career stress. Like when I'm talking to a lot of my clients, the one of the main sources of their stress comes from their career, right? And so part of the reason it comes from their career is not because of the work that they do, because of the work they're afraid to do, right? Some guy gave them a gift to draw or write or sing, but they just too afraid. They're like, that's not safe. That's not safe, right? But I knew that I had to leave there in order to live life on my own terms. And so I'm telling you, whatever your gift is, whatever your unique calling is, you have to have a way to stand out. I need to make sure when people are looking for Lisa Smith, they're looking for the right one. My A in my middle name is my gift. That's my unique identifier. Your unique identifier is being ignored. And as a result, you are being drowned amongst a bunch of people that are doing the exact same things. They eating crap. They staying in jobs and circumstances that don't make them happy, but that gives them an illusion of safety. And I'm telling you, that's what's keeping them sick. So soon as you decide to start using your middle initial, things will change for you too. Things will change for you too. Start doing what you're being called to do. Activate obedience, because the stress is not the problem, it's the misalignment. The stress is not the problem, it's the misalignment. So stop burying what makes you unique. Stop burying what makes you unique. And then you will see the body fully heal. You will see the mind fully heal. That makes sense, y'all? If I can go into the homework, put a HW in the chat. Put a HW in the chat. Lisa, give me my next assignment. Give me my next assignment. Okay. Y'all heard it here first. Y'all, look, stress, it ain't really stress. It's just disobedience. The moment I raised my prices, guess what happened? When people started paying thousands of dollars for farm to table, guess what happened? Stress went away. It wasn't my circumstance. It was my perception of raising my prices. It's your perception. It's your perception of submitting a letter of resignation. It's your perception of having difficult conversations. It's your perception of turning on the camera and creating content. It's your perception of how hard it is to eat plant-based. You're not stressed out because of your health. You stressed out because giving up sugar feels too hard. It's your perception of what it's going to take to give up sugar that's stressing you out. Okay, I think I made my point. I think I made my point. Let me give you your homework so we can get out of here. Let me give you your homework so you can get up out of here. Okay, the first thing, the second thing, the third thing. I done gave y'all a bunch of things today. I don't know what number we on, but I need you to understand that you got to address your perception of what's stressing you out. Not actually the stressor, like the job, the relationship, the finances, the health, the children, but the belief that you're attaching to the solution. I was attaching a belief to raising my prices, and that was what was stressful. I was attaching a belief to raising my prices. They're not going to pay it. It's going to be too hard. People are going to think I don't care about helping people, right? That was the stress. It's perception. Stress kills and purpose heals. Here is your homework. So I got a gift for you guys. I have a gift. I am going to give you my recipe book. Remember that recipe book I showed you on like the second slide today? I'm going to gift you with that. I'm going to gift you with that. So I'm going to give you a download that's going to help you have some ideas when it comes to recipes and everything, right? So let me show you your homework. There's two things that we're doing. The first is you're going to download the plant-based foodie recipe book, all yours. And we're going to prepare at least one meatless meal every day for the remainder of this week. Somebody say, yay. Somebody say, I am not going to let my perception of cooking without butter and chicken and fish and sausage ruin this for me. Okay. So I'm going to give you a copy of the plant-based foodie recipe book. I'm going to drop that link in just a moment. And take a screenshot of this page because my favorite recipes inside of the recipe book are my tuna, banana muffins, and my quinoa tacos. Those are my favorite recipes inside of the recipe book: the tuna, the banana muffins, and the quinoa tacos. So those are some places where you can start if you're trying to figure out what to do first. And I'm challenging you guys to prepare at least one meatless meal, every day this week, starting today. We're only together till Friday, guys. So just give it a shot. Just one meatless meal a day. And then the second piece of your homework is to listen to Why Stress Keeps Coming Back Stronger. So that is a podcast episode. So let me drop both of those in the chat for you right now. And I want you to listen to that episode where I go deeper about how disobedience is at the root of stress. Okay. So you're going to listen to that episode and you're going to download the plant-based foodie recipe book. And then the final thing I'm going to do today is give you a tip on how to go from being a consumer to a producer. But let me put the QR code up for the recipe book. Make sure you got those. And then let me drop the podcast episode in the chat for you as well. Okay. So just so you guys know too, the podcast episode is episode 92 on the Plant Protocol podcast. Okay. So listen to Why Does Stress Keep Coming Back Stronger? That's episode 92 on the Plant Protocol podcast. Okay. So here's the QR code. Let me share my screen. Let me get the link first. I'll drop it in the chat, then I'll share my screen for those of you who are on your cell phones and can't scan. Let's get this in the chat for you. Okay, homework, recipe book. Okay, so there you are. There's the link to grab the recipe book on me. And then here is the link to listen to podcast episode number 92 called Why Stress Keeps Coming Back Stronger and How to Break Free. Homework, podcast episode. And I'm going to end with one more nugget. And I have to apologize. I didn't expect to get this passionate today. So we don't have time for Q&A. But I want to give you this final nugget. And what we'll do is we'll definitely start with Q&A tomorrow. So your homework has been dropped in the chat. I can answer your question real quick, Candace. Do my green smoothies I make count as my plant-based meal? Yeah, they can if your smoothie is a meal, right? Meaning like you're not eating the smoothie along with anything else, but you're making the smoothie the meal. Absolutely. It can absolutely count as your meatless meal. Ezekiel bread, sugar-free peanut butter toast, that's perfectly fine. As long as it's a meal and not a snack, right? So we want it to be a proper meal. And so long as it's serving as a meal, absolutely go for it. Okay. Sine said, I love a free book. Amen. Okay. So here's the final tip I want to give you guys. So I told you guys yesterday that we'll be doing a segment at the end of every class called How to Go from a Consumer to a Producer, right? And so I want to give you one more tool for your toolbox on how to do that. So yesterday I told you have to calculate the cost of inaction so that you can start doing the things that you are consuming, right? So yesterday I said, calculate the cost of inaction. Here's your one for today, right? I need you to acknowledge the difference between new and hard. Acknowledge the difference between new and hard. So what does that mean? That means a lot of times when we consume information like this and we hear really good information, we get excited, we come to events, we go to conferences, we listen to podcasts, like we're like, man, yes, I need to activate this. I need to do this. We're taking great notes. But some kind of way, all of that information just stays in our notebook. It just stays in our mind, but our life never really changes. And part of the reason for that is because a lot of times you hear stuff like this and it sounds like it's too hard. Like a lot of times we can't fathom the idea of cooking without butter, of, making a pasta without cheese. We can't fathom the idea of what it would take to make a meal without chicken or turkey or fish. We can't fathom what it takes to work out and make and prioritize ourselves instead of jumping out of bed to serve other people. And so the reason we know that we should, and we know that eating differently is healthy, is because we've consumed a bunch of information that we have not utilized. And part of the reason we haven't utilized that information is because we're labeling the things as hard. But here's the sentence I need you to embody to go from a consumer to a producer. Put this in the chat. The only way you go lock the virtual doors, Danita, Carl, Jamie, the only way they're getting out today is they put this in the chat. Everybody put this in the chat. It's not hard. I'm just new. It's not hard. I'm just new. You want to start your business. You want to put yourself out there. You want to take a chance on yourself. You're interested in entrepreneurship, but when it comes to creating content online, putting your face on camera, putting your voice on the mic, it scares you and it feels hard. It feels hard to show up and start talking when nobody's watching. But I'm here to tell you, it's not hard. You're just new. There's a difference. Now, 10 years in, guys, it is not hard for me to eat a meal that's not made with meat, eggs, dairy, or seafood. But it was at one point because I was new. Now, 10 years in, guys, it's not hard for me to turn on my camera, go on YouTube, turn on my mic and record a podcast. It's not hard for me to step on stage and talk to hundreds of people. But it was at one point because I was new. So be very careful with labeling something that's hard when the truth is you're just new. So if you want to be one of those people who leaves rooms like this and your life actually starts looking different because you didn't just consume the information and say, yeah, I went to that. Yeah, I heard of her. Yeah, I read her book, but your life don't reflect any of that. Stop labeling things as hard and just acknowledge that you're just new. Separate the art from the artist, right? It's not hard for you. You're just new at producing a different type of meal. You're new at producing a different type of output. You're used to producing output at your 9 to 5, but not for yourself. But it's not hard. You're just new. And there's a growing period that happens when we are new at things. All right? So it's not hard. I'm just new. Every time you got to resist some sugar, some coffee, some salt, some oil, a drive-through. Don't be like, this is so hard. No, I'm just new. You're going to get to a point where you're going to drive past that stuff and not think twice about it. But right now, you're new. Okay, so that's the takeaway. Lisa, how do I go from a consumer to a producer? I stop labeling everything as hard and just recognize that I'm just learning how to walk for the first time. But once I got it, once I take the first step, and put the next foot in front, eventually walking will become second nature, just like driving did, just like tying your shoes did. Eventually, you won't be new and it won't be hard. That's my time, y'all. That's my time, y'all. I'm gonna need some outro music. Who I need to talk to, Carl? Who I need to talk to, Candace? That's my time, y'all. I so apologize for going past what would have been Q&A today. But I promise you, let's start with Q&A tomorrow. So in 24 hours, let's prepare to bring all your questions from your homework today, your homework yesterday. No sugar, no dairy. If you weren't here yesterday, the homework was no sugar, no dairy for the entire week. Now we're adding on to that. We're going to have at least one meatless meal for the entire week every day. Okay. And then we're also going to be feeding our brain. So you're going to make me the forever voice in your head. You're going to listen to the Plant Protocol podcast, episode 92, to piggyback off of what I taught today. So you can listen to it a little slower, let it settle into your spirit. And then you can realize, okay, what am I being disobedient on that's prolonging my stress? Thank y'all so much for having me today. I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Let's go, y'all. Let's get it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, let's
We
get it.
appreciate y'all.
Thank
Thank
you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Oh, y'all better sing me out. Y'all better sing me out.
Thank you, Lisa.
Clock today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa A.
Thanks,
Smith.
Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Lisa.
I thank you.
Y'all the best. Thank y'all. See you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Peace.